How's it going, everyone? Today we're going to go over what players I believe to be the best and most realistic options for the Lakers at each position in free agency. But before we get to the video, if you take the time to drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, it would be greatly appreciated. I've noticed a lot of you who are watching and commenting on my videos lately are pretty new around here, so thank you for taking the time to watch the videos. I usually post 3 to 4 new videos a week, so if you want to keep up with the videos, hit subscribe and turn on notifications to get notified right away when I drop a video. Thank you. But anyway, let's get into it. And while I've done multiple free agent videos in the past regarding different positions, I haven't really made one video sharing what I believe to be the best and most realistic option for the Laker team to target in free agency at each position. And this is important because right now they currently only have 7 players guaranteed on their roster through next year. They have a lot of holes on their roster to fill yet, and although most of them will be filled with players returning from the championship team, there will still be a few players from last year's team that does not return. Players from the championship team like Rondo and Caldwell already have declined their player option in their contract and are not guaranteed to return, and Avery Bradley and JaVale McGee also have yet to decide on their player option. This creates the potential for the team to possibly look very different next year. Usually when role players are part of a championship team, they get a boost to their value and will try to capitalize on it and get a bigger contract. And that may be true for Caldwell Pope, Rajon Rondo, Dwight Howard, and Markieff Morris. Hopefully not, but this again is the reason why the team needs to have multiple backup options in free agency. And before we get to my pick for point guard, I wanted to clarify that I won't be picking any Laker players who are currently free agents. I think pretty much every Laker player who is a free agent will already be a priority, and it wouldn't be much of a list as all I did was choose players who are already on the team prior to free agency. And for the order of my list, I will be starting with point guard and then ending with the center position. And for my top pick at point guard, I have Goran Dragic. And although Dragic was a big part of the Miami Heat's playoff run, I don't think he'll for sure be a top priority for them. They already have another young point guard in Kendrick Nunn, and they definitely don't want to give Dragic another big contract, which would sacrifice their financial flexibility in 2021. A lot of people really seem to think his time in Miami may be over, and this would give him an opportunity to sign with a different contender as long as he isn't looking to cash in big with a bad team that has money like the Knicks or with Atlanta. And this is where the Lakers could come into play if they would lose Rajon Rondo, or even if they wanted to add a ton of depth at point guard with more shooting with Dragic. They could offer him the mid-level exception worth over $9 million for next year, and that would likely be close to the highest he'd be offered in a year in free agency, where not many good teams have money to spend. And I think Dragic, now being 34 years old, will want to continue to play with a contender, and there could be plenty of mutual interest between him and the Lakers if Rondo were to leave, and if Miami doesn't seem to want him back. But now moving on to my pick for a shooting guard, and this is another important position to keep in mind because their current shooting guard, Caldwell Pope, may be looking to cash in for more money than the team wants to give him. And this is why my top pick for shooting guard is Justin Holiday. Holiday had a very underrated year with Indiana in 2019-2020 and is both a good shooter and a good defender. He shot over 40% from 3 while taking 4.5 3-point shots a game, and along with that, his advanced stats show that he was very valuable to his team as a defender as well. Both his defensive win shares and defensive box plus-minus ratings show that his team was better on defense when he was in the game, and his good height, wingspan, and mobility allow him to defend positions 1 through 3 and even 1 through 4 at times. And I think his ability to defend would be the biggest draw for a team like the Lakers. Coach Vogel is very high on players who can defend at a high level, and the team could definitely use more defenders as Danny Green is starting to decline, and there is no guarantee on Avery Bradley returning yet either. And along with that, it likely wouldn't cost much to bring in Holiday either. He could maybe be had with the biannual exception worth around $4 million a year, or if Caldwell Pope doesn't return, they could easily give him a contract worth around $5 million a year. And for me personally, I think they should attempt to get Holiday whether or not Caldwell Pope returns to the team. He seems like a potentially great fit on the team where more depth is needed at the wing, and his ability to defend and shoot threes could fit in perfectly. But now moving on to the small forward position, where I have Harkless, and while he may not be the flashiest player available, or guy who scores the most points, he is no doubt a great defender. And although other good small forward defenders like Jay Crowder and Jerami Grant will be free agents as well, Harkless is definitely a lot more realistic to add to the team than they are. It would be very unlikely he returns to the Knicks, and he also won't be looking for a big contract this year. He had a pretty down year this year, and he hasn't played anywhere near the $10.5 million per year contract he was making before. This would be a year for him to improve his value by playing for a good team with an every night role. And although he isn't a perfect fit due to not being a great shooter, the team could use his added height, length, and mobility to be able to guard positions 1 through 4. And although he isn't a great shooter, he is still capable and can go on hot streaks. He shot nearly 35% from the 3-point line in 2019-2020 between the two teams he played for. And I think because of the down year he had, they may be able to add him with the biannual exception or a contract worth around $4 to $5 million a year. And like I said before, this is a year for him to prove himself again. I don't think he will be looking for a very big contract right now, and instead will be looking to cash out next year like many other players. But now moving on to the power forward position, and for this one, there are a few players I like and that are realistic, such as Jerami Green and Danilo Gallinari, but I think the guy that is probably the most realistic and could help improve the team in multiple ways is Millsap. He's a veteran player who wants to win a championship, and although he plays on a Denver Nuggets team who made it to the Western Conference Finals, they may not have a place for him there anymore. Denver already has Michael Porter Jr. off the bench, and if they bring back Jerami Grant, there may not be much of a role for Millsap anymore. So if he wanted to continue to play considerable minutes and be on a contending team, taking a jump to the Lakers might not be a bad idea for him. He would have to take a major pay cut, but I think at this point in his career, money won't be what intrigues him. And in terms of fit, Millsap could provide good depth at power forward and provide much needed floor spacing as well. And if they can't bring back Markieff Morris, Millsap would be a very good backup plan. Millsap is actually one of the best 3-point shooting power forwards in the entire league, as he connected on nearly 44% of his 3-point attempts this year. And along with that, he is still a good rebounder and a good team defender as well. Overall, I think Millsap could potentially be a great fit for the team and a great backup plan for Markieff Morris. And because he will likely prioritize winning a ring over money, I wouldn't be surprised if he joined them with a veteran's minimum contract or near it. But now moving on to the final position, which is the center position. And the player I'd want the Laker team to try to get if they can't bring back Dwight Howard is Nerlens Noel. I've been on the Nerlens Noel hype train for a while now, as I suggested him in one of my free agent videos months ago, and he is likely one of the best value free agents available. He kind of reminds me of a young Dwight Howard without a post game. He is one of the most athletic big men in the league and is a great defender. And if you look at their 2019-2020 numbers, they were both very similar. They both played very similar minutes per game, averaged nearly the same amount of points, both averaged over 1 block a game, and both had a very efficient field goal percentage. The only places they differed is in rebounding, where Dwight averages about 2.5 more a game, in steals, where Noel has a higher average, and in free throw percentage, where Noel is also much better. But overall, they are both very productive big men off the bench that defend and finish around the rim at a high level. And even though Nerlens Noel is younger, he may actually be more affordable. He hasn't made above a minimum level contract in 2 years, and he likely won't this year either, where not a lot of teams have a lot of money to spend. I could see him taking a minimum level contract one more time and trying to improve his value by getting good minutes with the Lakers and showing his value on a contending team. But anyway, that'll do it for my list of free agents at every position the Laker team could target for depth or to replace current players that may potentially leave the team. I think every one of these players will be a good fit, and most importantly are actually realistic targets that the team could likely afford. But what do you guys think? Who is your favorite target on my list? Or would you change anything about my list? Comment down below and we can talk about it there. And if you enjoyed the video, remember to drop a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Shout out to everyone who made it to the end of the video. I truly appreciate y'all. And as always, thank you for watching.